Good evening, I am Nazi Suleiman, an Egyptian archaeologist. Today I will take you on a new journey inside one of the ancient Egyptian tombs. Please stay with me. Nefertari Meretmet. Living in the 19th dynasty, circa 1295 to 1255 BC. Her full name was Nefertari Meretmet, meaning beautiful companion, beloved of Mut. She was the beloved great royal wife of Ramses II. Nefertari, one of the best known of the Egyptian queens. Next to Cleopatra, Nefertiti, and Hatshepsut. Her tomb, QV66, is the largest, most lavishly decorated and spectacular in the Valley of the Queens. Nefertari's origins are unknown, but discoveries in her tomb, which include a cartouche of the Ferroi, suggest she may have been related to rulers of the 18th dynasty. Nefertari's tomb consists of 7 chambers and a secondary flight of steps. It is built on 2 levels. 3 chambers are located at the upper level in the main burial chamber, and its 3 annexes reached via the secondary stairway. The antechamber has a bench structure on 2 of the sides, west and north, onto which offerings were placed. This has spaces between supports, all of which were decorated. Entrance and upper chambers. The entrance undecorated descent leads to the doorway to the first chamber of the tomb. The steps, without the slipway, continue into the chamber. The outer door jambs and lintel identify the tomb as Nefertari's. The underside of the lintel has a representation of the sun behind a sandhill and flanked by the bird forms of the goddesses Isis and Nephthys. One interpretation is that this represents the setting sun and the entry to the kingdom of the dead. Alternatively, it represents the rising sun, and represents Nefertari's exit into the day, with Ra. Facing through the doorway, the brilliantly colored scenes make it difficult to believe that they were produced more than 3,500 years ago. The chamber, which is almost square, 5.2 meters north-south by 5.0 meters east-west and 3.2 meters in height, is approximately 3.0 meters below the ground level of the entrance. The ceiling of the antechamber was painted deep blue and spangled with yellow stars, evoking the heavenly sky. At the upper edge of all 4 walls is a frieze of 3 different rustic designs. The west walls. The decoration of the west wall actually begins on the west side of the south entry wall. The area is divided into 2 registers. A picture register at the top and a totally text register below. All of the small scenes of the upper register relate to chapter 17 of the Book of the Dead. They start by showing Nefertari under a canopy, constructed of reed matting, the same as used to cover the floor under her highly decorated chair. In her right hand she holds a second scepter. She is engaged in playing a game of senet. The game frees her spirit in the form of the human-headed bob bird, to travel outside the tomb during the day. This is followed by the queen kneeling and worshipping a representation of the god Atum, shown as the sign of the ahead horizon supported by 2 lions. Next is an image of the Bennu bird, representing the soul of Ra. Then there is Nefertari's mummified body flanked by the goddesses Nephthys and Isis. Here they appear as kites protecting the queen. The figure of the genie of the Nile kneels in front of an oval containing a symbolic Ujat eye, the eye of Horus. The north wall, like the previous wall, this one is also divided into 2 registers. Images at the top and columns of text below. These are a continuation of the Book of the Dead, chapter 17. Again they are partially destroyed. The scenes start, on the left, with the remains of the reclining image of the celestial cow, from whose buttocks, according to chapter 17, the sun god was born. To the right of this are the 4 sons of Horus, standing 2 on either side of a canopic chest, inside which appears to be an image of a reclining black jackal Anubis, and the head which would have appeared on top of the chest has been lost. To the right of these are 2 figures seated on cuboid thrones. With no text to identify him, it must be assumed that the first one, who is falcon-headed, is Ra, and the second, human-headed, is Shu. On the right side of the register are the figures of Horus, left, and his 4 sons, all seated on the ground. The fact that these four suns have been placed above the entrance to the lower burial chamber is appropriate, and probably deliberate. The east walls, the middle of the eastern wall of the antechamber is interrupted by a wide opening. The scene on the right begins on the eastern side of the south wall, up to the entry stairway. This represents Nefertari's entry and welcome to the afterlife by two divinities, Osiris and Anubis. The architrave above the opening is decorated with 11 serpents alternating with 9 blue ostrich plumes. Facing outwards from the kneeling god or genie at the center, the god, who is not named, spreads his hands over 2 ovals containing huge eyes. Both sides of the entrance are decorated with the standing figure of a goddess. On the left, the north thickness, is Selkis, or Serket, and other variations. She can be identified by the scorpion on top of her head and from her accompanying text. The goddess on the left is Neith, whose identifying emblem sits on top of her head. This is described as being 2 bows crossed over a shield, because Neith was the goddess of war. Both goddesses face into the antechamber, welcoming Nefertari. The west walls, it becomes very obvious that the chamber is only slightly wider than its entry. There was only just space on either side to place the image of the Djed pillar, the talisman of the god Osiris. The other Djed pillars in this tomb are pillars only or pillars with Osiris arms. The images are actually of Osiris with a Djed pillar appendage, his head. Each side of the wall is the mirror image of the other. The torso is of Osiris wearing a yellow ochre garment, tied at the middle by a long red-colored piece of fabric. On his chest he wears a broad gold necklace. His head is replaced with the top of a Djed pillar, on top of which is a headdress of 2 colorful feathers mounted on the horns of a ram, with the red solar disk at the center. The northeast walls, the scene decorating the north wall, like that of the south wall, is not independent. It continues on the adjoining part of the east wall to form a single scene. This side of the east wall is only 1.0 meters wide. This northeast scene shows Nefertari being introduced, by the goddess Isis, to the god Khepri. Isis wears the sun disk on her head between curved bull's horns, from the front of which hangs a uraeus. The southeast walls, here the south wall and the adjoining section of the east wall, form a similar scene to the one at the north end. This time it is Horus who leads Nefertari, and they approach 2 seated deities, Ra-Horakhti and Hathor. The east wall lintel, on the lintel above the entry to the next chamber, is an image of the vulture goddess Nekhbet. Her name appears twice, at either end of outstretched wings. In her claws she holds the symbol of protection, the Shen sign. First eastern annex entrance, the images on the 2 thicknesses are the same of Maat, the goddess of truth, facing out from the annex and towards the antechamber. The walls are topped with a Kuiper frieze. First eastern annex, the west wall, north. On this north side of the west wall, Nefertari is shown making an offering of linen to Ptah. Ptah stands on a dais in the shape of a Ma'at sign, inside a golden shrine with a curved roof, supported by 2 poles. The rear one is plain, but the front one is topped with a Djed pillar. A large Djed pillar also stands behind the shrine. The north wall, Nefertari stands in the middle of the north wall, in front of the seated god Thoth, with the head of an ibis. This is the god of writing, the scribe who records the results of the judgment scene, the weighing of the heart. The east wall. The east wall of side room is filled with 2 scenes, separated in the center by an upright fan. The scenes, although different and unrelated, show very close similarities, and they are, in layout, mirror images. In both scenes Nefertari stands, dressed in her usual attire, in front of a seated god. She holds out, in both cases, her right hand in which she holds a Sekhem scepter, her symbol of power and authority. Between her and the god is a large and bountiful pile of offerings. The left scene shows god Osiris enthroned on the usual throne. Before him, on a stand, are the 4 sons of Horus. On right scene the god Atum, creator of the universe and solar deity of Heliopolis. He is dressed the crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. In his left hand he holds a scepter, in his right he holds an Ankh, the sign of life. The south wall. In the top 2 registers of the south wall there are 7 cows and a bull, bottom left, each standing behind a small offering table, not intended for the animals but for the nourishment of Nefertari. In the same wall, there are references to the steering oars which help Nefertari maneuver among the stars. The east wall lintel, on the lintel above the exit to the previous chambers, is again an image of the vulture goddess Nekhbet. The image is identical to the one at the other side of the passageway, and she again holds a Shen sign in each claw. Seen at its best from the bottom, the second stairway descends from the antechamber to the burial chamber, almost 3.0 meters below. The stairway of 18 steps is 7.5 meters in length, with a slipway down the middle for the sarcophagus. The right outer thickness shows a rampant serpent facing the cartouche of Nefertari. The serpent, which is identified as Wadjet, wears the red crown of Lower Egypt. On the almost identical left outer thickness, the name is omitted. It can be assumed that this is Nekhbet, because this one wears the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. In both cases the serpent and cartouche rests on a wicker basket, which in turn stands on top of two Dyed pillars. Also, both cartouches are crowned with the double plume and solar disk headdress and stand on the hieroglyphic symbol for gold. Behind, having passed through the entry from the antechamber, the south wall has images of two goddesses, one on either side. They are Nath, left when facing her, and Selkis, right. On the upper triangular section of the west wall, Nefertari holds out two round nemset jars above an altar piled high with fruit and loaves of bread. Facing Nefertari, ready to receive her offerings, are three goddesses, Isis, Nephthys, and Ma'at. The upper east wall, again Nefertari faces three female deities across a similar table of offerings. The three goddesses are Hathor, mistress of the west, Selkis, and again the winged Ma'. The queen once again holds out two round nemset jars. The lower west wall, the area is subdivided by another line, 1 the upper part belonging to Anubis. 2 the black jackal Anubis reclines on a shrine. 3 Isis kneels on a large and very detailed version of the hieroglyph for gold. The lower area of the east wall are again almost mirror images of those of the west wall. As before, there are differences, especially in the fact that on this wall it is the goddess Nephthys who kneels on the large gold hieroglyph. The burial chamber. At the southwest and southeast corners are the entrances to two side annexes. The entrance to another annex is situated in the middle of the north wall. The main decoration of the walls of the two sides of the chamber are independent of each other. Those of the west show Nefertari's entry into the underworld through the 7 gates described in chapter 144 of the Book of the Dead. The east side covers her passage through the 21 portals of chapter 146. At the north wall of the chamber Nefertari completes her journey and faces Osiris. The columns of the tomb were decorated with scenes of deities such as Osiris, Isis, Hathor, and Anubis, as well as some priests. The rooms attached to the burial chamber were decorated with scenes depicting Nefertari's relationship with various deities. If you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so that you can receive all that is new. Here ends today's video. Hoping to meet in another video tomorrow. Until then, I wish you happy times and good health. Bye.